Welcome everyone, and today I'm talking with Martin, and we're going to be talking about his band Skorum. We're going to be talking about uh, heathens. We're going to be talking about paganism. We're going to be talking probably about Christianity as well. We're going to be talking about music. We're going to even be talking about my favorite topic of all, well, my least favorite topic of all is racism, but we're going to all wrap it all up because this is going to be fascinating. So thank you so much, Martin, for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be on.
Yeah, I mean, I got your album. What was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever it came out? Listened, got it as soon as I got the email, downloaded it, listened to it, and it was like being transported away. It was amazing.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
I've listened to it. Oh. 5 or 6 times now. Some of my listeners will know that I've been in hospital recently, and it was definitely on my to listen list as I lay there in hospital in pain. So yeah, it's the way I describe it. If someone asked me to describe it in a few words, is hypnotic and calling. The music is in some parts just longing and magical. In others it's thumping and vengeful, and it's like calling from another place. When I say vengeful, I don't mean it in a bad way, but what I mean is, very much, is in your face in a very, very subtle way. It's not like what people would expect, sort of loud and crashing, but there's those drums and the beats and things like that, which I just have really enjoyed. And the singer, I don't even know her name. Amazing, just blown away.
Yeah, I mean, it was we started right. So this is our second album, and we started writing it straight after album number 1 came out. And really sort of, I mean, what this album is about is there are a couple of passages in the prose and poetic Edda about a war between the Aesir gods, being Odin and Thor, and the Vanir, being Njord and Frey and Freya. But there's not really too much detail giving in the Edda's, just, oh, that it happened and it ended in a draw. And really what this album does is we use a lot of creative license, and we take what we know from the Eddas and we expand it into a full album.
Yeah, I was going to say this is very much a I was nearly going to say a concept album. It's not a concept.
No, it is. I mean, I'm massively influenced by the likes of Pink Floyd and Yes and UFO, and you sort of, where I slightly fall out of favor with modern music consumption is that the current trend is for singles, and singles are great and they have their place, but you're limited to about 3 minutes 30 seconds to tell your story and get out. And I like to spend a bit longer with these characters. I like to spend more time with the voice and, let the instruments have their own part. And, the entire the entire concept behind this second album was starting in Vanaheim and, taking a look there, moving through to the loss of Gullveig, the first skirmishes, the stalemate, and sort of the ending with Ragnarok on the horizon. And you only can really do that across a whole album. You can't do that in the space of a single.
Well, it's in the vein of the epic poetry of the Eddas of Beowulf, and in a way, each section is its own thing.
Very much so, yeah.
And its own it's a large ballad made up of smaller ballads.
Yes,
And I mean
definitely.
ballad in the traditional sense, not in the modern love song sense. I mean storytelling through song. um and it but they can be taken as distinct units. I think my favorite, my two favorites, but my absolute favorite was Charge. I thought that was that's an incredible track.
Thank
I
you.
found myself sketching while I was listening to that.
Yeah.
And I was sketching, there are massive white cliffs here on the Isle of Wight, you know, and there's one place, and it's called the High Downs. It used to be called the High Downs. It's now been renamed. But and it's those people that know the Isle of Wight. There's a section that sort of leads out, and it's called the Needles. But there's these great big white cliffs all around there, and the sea comes crashing in, and that's where I imagined this happening, you know. And I was just sketching that, and it was just I with dark clouds, crashing seas, and you know, the exhaustion and heartbreak and things. And it just really spoke to me. Charge, I thought was incredible. The whole album, as I said, I think is fantastic.
Thank you.
And Die For Me, the
Well,
last track.
yeah, so Die For Me is the single. So that's out on Spotify with 2 B-sides at the moment, and it's done really, really well. And Die For Me is within the Norse Eddas. There is the idea of Freya teaching Sadir to Odin, and that is sort of, I mean, we know from the Eddas that Odin will sacrifice himself to himself for the benefit of universal wisdom and what have you. And that is kind of the message of Die For Me, is that you're having to die for yourself. But again, sort of through his all-knowing and his omniscience, he does become aware of the world wolf or Fenrir and how he will meet his end of at that. And he almost becomes a microcosm of Greek tragedy, that he knows what's going to happen, but he can't tell anyone about it, and he can't avoid his own fate.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, it's a common motif, isn't it? I mean, even, and you know, let's even talk about Christianity. I mean, Odin or Odin, Woden, however you know, same God. In this moment is a Christ-like figure. You know, there is the Christ sacrificing himself to himself for the sins of man, and Odin or Woden or Voden, as we'd say in Anglo-Saxon, or Voden. Oh, hello. My daughter's just popped in.
Hello.
Daddy,
yes.
The biscuits are ready, but they don't have chocolate on yet.
The biscuits don't have chocolate on them yet. Okay, you're gonna put them on? No, that's my microphone, baby.
but that sauce is really good.
I know. I'll bring it down. You can feel how soft it is later. Okay. I'm just on the phone at the moment, so I'll come down soon. Okay. Okay. Bye bye.
Oh, bless her. Chocolate biscuits.
Chocolate orange biscuits.
Ooh.
Which is my favorite. I think chocolate and orange that's ambrosia. You know, that's food of the gods, that is. Where was I? Yes. So, you know, this motif of sacrificing oneself to oneself for the betterment of others is, you know, it's basically saying, be selfless. You have to be selfless. Yes. And I think that's where the understanding of this sort of thing is split down the middle. You know, you have, and I don't want to be completely, you know, put people in buckets, but in a lot of cases, and this is evangelical Christianity, in heathenism, in paganism, there is a very selfish viewpoint. You do things for yourself, when there's the other side of things. And I think this is the true understanding, which is you have to make sacrifices for the greater good. You do
Absolutely.
things for others.
Yeah.
You wear a mask for others. You know, you you stay indoors for others. And until people can grasp that, you know, they're missing the point and the beauty of this stuff. And Die for Me is just a beautiful illustration of self-sacrifice for the benefit and betterment of others.
Exactly, it's exactly what it's about.
And that's why, you know, I just thought that was just beautiful. And the other thing that I really loved about this is you bookend this album beautifully. You start off with Years of Summer, and it is, you're traversing through the seasons right through to Die for Me.
I mean, certainly that's something that I feel very closely in my life as well. I feel that man is almost a hologram of planet Earth. He is Mother Nature in microcosm, and you know, we are sort of born in the spring, we go through the summer and then into our autumn and finally our winter years, and we are almost in sync with those seasons that go on around us. For a long time, I studied Wicca, and I was really taken of the journey of maiden to mother to crone, and that kind of wheel, always in motion, always in turning, and there's nothing you can do to stop that wheel. And that was something that I wanted to put into the album, that I wanted to make it a journey, and I wanted it to go somewhere and, you know, tell sort of this story over a larger tapestry.
Yeah, I think you've absolutely successfully done that. You know, the again, the motif of the three phases, or the three goddesses in one. Excuse me, the Trinity, the and it comes through. You know, there is the Wicca side of things. Excuse me. You know, it's a big part of Wicca, the three goddesses.
Yes,
but you know, in Anglo-Saxon belief, you know, there's the Modre, the three mothers, and Christmas, for example, in Anglo-Saxon belief was Mutre night, or Mother's Night, the three mothers, and the culmination of that cycle, the wheel, and there's the concept of the weird, you know, and you know, you're talking about fate, and the weird is kind of, I guess, kind of like fate, but it's more than that.
Yes.
It's a concept that people sometimes directly translate as fate, whereas fate implies you have no way of changing it, whereas the weird is more like a river where you can kind of see what's coming up, and there are certain points in that river that you can't change in your life. When you meet the love of your life and this, that, and the other thing, it's going to happen no matter what, and your death is going to happen. It's been written that is going to happen. But the twists and turns and things, they change as so it's a little bit more complex than that. But there's the concept of the Eftweird. The Eftweird is the, I guess, the end of that cycle.
Yes.
So it is almost cognate to Ragnarok, where it's not the end of the world, but it is the end of this cycle. It's also the end of the year, you know, and I know this is written more around the Norse side of things, but they're so related and so close.
There's a lot of overlap, definitely.
Yeah, and the pantheon, you know, you know, where you're talking about Freya, we got Freya, where you've got Thor, we got Dunor, we got, you know, Odin, we've got Vodin, you know, and they're the same characters and the same stories, and they overlap, and I think it's just beautiful. I absolutely, I can't recommend this album enough.
Thank you very much.
I know I've been gushing about it, but yeah. So, what brought you to writing this album? Was it something that you've wanted to do for a while? Is it something that just sort of seemed like a natural progression?
Sort of, you know, I was still into metal, and I still am into metal. But there's a monthly magazine called Metal Hammer.
Yeah.
And on their Facebook feed, I think it was, they had, is this the most metal concert ever? And it was a link to Heil Lungs Leifer on YouTube, the entire concert.
Right, okay.
And I had never heard anything like this. I'd never seen anything like this. And I was like, what the hell? This is mad, but it's absolutely brilliant. We talk about theatre and showmanship. Yeah. You know, I would say, you know, that, and yeah, I've not been to any Heil Lung concerts, but I imagine this would be true for all of them, that they transcend the music. This is music made with a meaning. And it was so fresh and so original that I think in the course of a week, I disappeared down a Nordic folk rabbit hole, you know, and I was getting into Wardruna. I'm a huge fan of the Russian shamanic outfit, Knitland.
They did a cover version of something, didn't they? Or did they? Am I thinking of someone else?
I think you're thinking of the French band Skuld. They did Seven Nation Army.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great cover, and you know, I mean, I've just got Skull's second album, and it's great. It's, you know, but you know, I've sort of since about 2017, I've really sort of immersed myself in it, and I'm still a huge fan of the genre. I'm still a huge advocate for it. I do feel that it's perhaps getting to be a little bit circular. And what I mean by that is that everyone is singing songs of the same trolls, everyone's singing songs of the same runes. And I understand why that is. It's because the source material is very limited. And that is kind of what inspired Skorum, that I wanted to take the kernel of an idea, but then go off piece with it completely and go, we can write our own sagas. We can write, you know, our own adventures, because, you know, we do have this idea of death and rebirth and, you know, and the thin places and the thin times. And actually the sagas are very light because they focus on the gods, but there were also godlike men as well, and elves and trolls and dwarves and all of these other things, which the sagas say, oh yeah, this is kind of going on. You know, we have the forging of Mjolnir. Well, what else did those dwarves forge? They, you know, they wouldn't just go, oh, that's it, we're done, we're retiring now. They've got their own stories as well, and that's where this album is coming from. That I think sort of the references to the Vanir Aesir war probably take up about a paragraph across all the books, and I was like, oh, I want more. I want to know, you know, what happened. How did it all develop? And I started talking to a lot of people on Facebook, and I started getting into UPG. And there's a guy who I know over in America who sort of is a Vic Key in his own right, and he was really helpful. And I just sort of, you know, over the course of a year, absorbed myself and started to tell my own stories, and that's where this album comes from.
What you're doing is incredible, because that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah. But you know, sort of, I think sort of certainly over the last maybe 60 to 70 years, the evolution in storytelling, in Western storytelling, has really come on. And I think, I'd point to the likes of Vladimir Prop in the 1920s, to Joseph Campbell in the 1950s, and they really deconstructed sort of fairy tales and myths and legends, and sort of came out with a structure, said, these are the common points to telling a story. And we Joseph Campbell once said that his best ever student was George Lucas, and that's how we get to these sort of kind of almost retelling epic tales. I know that everyone's not a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Personally, me and my kids love it. But it's that epic storytelling. And we're in a position now where we can take these tools and apply them retrospectively to, apply them to the Eddas and the tales from the Middle Ages. And it just makes for a richer, more dynamic experience.
Tell me what your favorite part of working on this album has been. What was your favorite? What's your favorite part of the process?
I mean, I'm the main songwriter and instrumentalist, and what I like in particular is the process of just writing the music, of notating it out, and then figuring out what plays and what doesn't play. And the way I describe it is that it's the process of sculpting. I'm just sculpting with music and tone. And many sculptors will look at a block of stone and they'll instantly be able to see the finished article in there. And it's just a question of bringing that article out. And that's the way it is for me in music, that I have a concept, I have an idea, I know how I want it to sound, and I just have to bring it out of the page.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's a real creative process, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely, I love it.
I'm working with someone at the moment. We're actually writing a musical.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of in the, I guess, it's actually a rap musical.
Okay.
I guess think a bit like Hamilton, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's more, but the stories is a parallel Earth, parallel UK. So the concept is that Mosley was able to become prime minister and instigate a fascist state in the UK, turns into a fascist republic, and the space program he turns into, instead of scrapping it, turns it into a nuclear or a missile program. And the story is about, so I mean, it's an allegory of what's happening now with this animosity of the EU for no reason other than to further political goals. So
it's all about tax avoidance for the big boys. That's what it's about.
Oh, that's what it's always been about. It's and disaster capitalists. That's exactly what it is. So you stoke the fires of racism, get what you want, just so you can asset strip and avoid tax.
Yeah. It's always been the notion of them. And there's always been this them on the other side of the divide.
Well, it's Orwellian, isn't it? It's
no one sort of the people who are being preached to about this other them don't seem to realize that the divide is entirely artificial. Boundaries are just a line on a map. There is no race other than the human race, and we're taught to look across the water and fear them and revile them, and it's just absolute nonsense.
Let's talk about Odin. He's not the Sun Father, is he? He's the All Father. There is not one mention in the sagas of anyone being discriminated against based on their orientation or their gender. You have the likes of Freya, who is the goddess of war. Well,
There's-
let's look at Loki or Locke as he's called in Anglo-Saxon. He changes his sex.
Yep.
He gives birth. He has husbands. He has wives.
Yep. Yeah.
They don't care.
Thor, massive cross-dresser.
Yeah. Thunor
Yeah.
dresses as a woman.
Yeah.
And there is no judgment about that. I remember lurking about in a couple of pagan things on Reddit, and and you'd see these people say, do you think that Odin will judge me for being gay? And I'd always reply, Odin doesn't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Never did.
It means nothing to him.
Yeah.
It's about being true to yourself and being
absolutely
a good person.
Yeah.
The whole being making your way to Valhalla and all that sort of stuff is really just saying, and is Odin looking for those people who are the best of the best. And it doesn't matter if it's not a warrior or whatever it is. You are the best at who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it always boggled my mind when people tried to say, well, you see these people who share these photos of Thunor, being this huge manly man, and that's kind of not. There's no description of him being like that.
No. No description at all.
No, and I don't care. You gay, straight, pink, blue, red. It doesn't matter. Male, female, gender fluid. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What matters is what's in your heart. Now, but don't take that but on the converse of that, what matters is defending those people that are minorities and are persecuted. So it doesn't matter if you're transgender.
No.
What matters is that we defend your right to be transgender.
I would say sort of, the measure of the man is in your reaction to someone being other than you.
Yeah.
Does it matter if you're black, white, pink, purple, red, yellow? No, it doesn't. Does it matter if someone is gay or straight or anything in between? No, it doesn't. And what's more, it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't hurt your family or your interests. You're not losing any pie by anyone being different to you.
No, and actually, conversely, you're gaining.
Absolutely.
Someone is different because it makes your life richer. That's the way I say it.
Definitely. Absolutely agree. One of my friends recently came out, and she told her father, and her father is a black belt in judo, and he was just kind of like, yes, huge high five.
That's the way to do it, right?
Absolutely.
We brought our kids up to be whatever you want to be. We don't, and
as long as it hurts no one else, do what you want.
Exactly, and love who you love.
Yeah, definitely.
And my son had an argument. A 7-year-old son had an argument with someone at school because George knows that anyone can marry anyone.
Yeah,
and someone was having an argument with him about it, saying, no, only men and women can get married. He said, no, anyone can get married. And he ended up getting bullied about it at school. So I went and spoke to him at school, and they had a whole thing about it, which was great. The school handled it fantastically. But it does show that this narrow view of the world is still out there, and it has to be quashed.
Definitely. Unfortunately, there are some very dark corners where malevolence still lies, and yeah, the only way to deal with it is to shine a light on it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, right. We've spoken about so much, and our time's just about up. Thank you so much for coming on, Martin.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And if you were to pick one of your tracks that we'll play out with, we'll play a little bit out so people can have a listen. Which one would you pick?
Play out Die For Me.
Die For Me it is.
Back to mist, back to stones, kiss the sky, and still it comes. I move in cycles, I'm always here. I am the end, in red and swear. Come to me, the stars are open. Die for me, dream of the ocean. Come to me, the stars are open. Die for me, dream of the ocean. What speaks in hushed tones? Kiss my lips, and still I come.